All right, so let's start Unit 5. So it's talking about roots and radicals and exponents, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so first let's start with the basics. So let's talk about roots and radicals. So they are the same thing. A root and a radical are the same thing. So whenever the book or test or quiz asks for a real root, so a real root is when you write both the positive and negative roots when applicable. So when do you have a positive and negative root? Well, like when you have the square root of 4, that could be plus or minus 2, right? Okay, what about the cube root of 8? Well, that's just 2. The fourth root of 16 is plus or minus 2. So whenever, whenever I say the plus or minus root when applicable, that's for the even roots. All right. So now, if they just ask you for the principal root, it's just the obvious answer. So usually you just write the positive version unless there's a negative sign somewhere in the problem that it needs to be a negative. Okay. So what are the real roots of the following? Well, number 1, the square roots. So the first row is square root. Square root of 5, and it's asking for the real. So that would be plus or minus 5. Okay, this one's just a little bit trickier, not too bad. Square root of 0.49 would be plus or minus 0.7. Okay, square root of 16 over 81. That would give you plus or minus 4 over 9. And then the square root of negative 16 over 144, well, you can't do that because of that negative, so there are no real roots. Right, there's only imaginary. Okay, now cube roots. So a cube root is like what to the third power equals, in this case, the first one, 27. Well, that would be positive 3, right? 3 times 3 times 3 would give you 27. Sometimes these take a little bit more work. And sometimes if I'm doing these or on a test or a quiz, I might write out, okay, 1 to the third power is 1, 2 is 8, 3, 27, 4 is 64, 5, 125, 6 is 216, I think. Yes, it is. And then 7 is 343. All right, we can keep going. I'm just going to do the first few. So the first one is easy. It's just 3. Letter F is negative. We're going to have to slap a negative on at the end. Negative cube root of 64. Well, that would just be negative 4. All right, and then this next one's a fraction. It's okay. Just do the cube root of the top and then the cube root of the bottom. And we know it's going to be negative, and you can take the negative cube root because something to the third power, if it was a negative, it would give you a negative, right? Because you would multiply it by itself 3 times. Negative times a negative times a negative would give you a negative. So you can have negatives under a cube root. That's legal. So this would be negative 3/7. The last one, 216 is 6. And then 512 is 8. So, and then that reduces, of course, to 3/4. Okay, now, we've got all that. Let's see if I can shrink this. Oops. Oh, nope, can't. So now let's do fourth roots. So these get a little crazy really fast. I would definitely recommend writing them out. So 1 to the 4th power is 1. Actually, I'm going to just use this right here. So that first column is the base number. This one is to the question mark to the 3rd. Let's add another row. Would be question mark to the 4th. So the base number to the 4th. 1 to the 4th, 1. Still easy. 2 to the 4th. Well, if it's to the 3rd, we're just going to multiply that by 2 again. So that would give you 16. 27 times 3 would give you 81. 4 times 64 would be 256. 5 times 125 would be 625. And then 7, oh wait, sorry, I forgot 6. 6 to the 4th, what would 216 times 3 would be, or times 6 would be 1,296. And 7 is 2,401. So yeah, it was kind of a lot of work, but we'll be all right. Now it makes it easy. Okay, the 4th root. So this is like what to the 4th power equals 16? Well, that would be 2. And remember, this is an even root, so we're going to have to do plus or minus. Okay, this next one is a fraction, so just do the 4th root of the top, which would be 10. And of the bottom, 625 is 5. Does that reduce? Yes. Always, if you have a fraction, check to see if you can reduce. Oops, so that is, I forgot the plus or minus 2. Here, this would be plus or minus, of course, 0.1. And then the 4th root of negative, you can't take a negative root to an even power, so this would be no real roots. All right, last section. Now we're just throwing in some variables. So we have, you're going to break this apart, and this will be negative. Don't forget the negative. So this is like the square root of 4 times the square root of x cubed. So that gives you negative 2. Square root of x cubed can break up into the square root of x squared and the square root of x. Square root of x squared gives you x, square root of x. So this would be 2x square roots of x. All right, the next one, now we have a cube root. So this is like the cube root of 81 times the cube root of x to the 9th. So the cube root of 81 breaks up into the cube root of 27 times the cube root of 3. And this breaks up into the cube root of x cubed times the cube root of x cubed times the cube root of x cubed, right? Each one of those is x. And this would give me 3 cube roots of 3. All right, so all of these are being multiplied, so let's put it all together. And we can't reduce the cube root of 3 any farther, so you leave it. So it would be 3x to the 3rd times the cube root of 3. All right, now a 5th root. I'm throwing a crazy one at you. It's not that crazy. So the 5th root of negative 32, well, the 4th root of 16 is 2. So if you times it by 2 one more time, it would give you negative 2. And then the 5th root of y to the 11th would be like this. The 5th root of y to the 5th. 5th root of y to the 5th. 5th root of y, right? That's 11 y's. 5, 10, 11, yes. So that gives you y times the 5th root of y. So this is negative 2 y squared 5th root of y. It's kind of a mouthful. All right. 4th root. Well, this one's not too bad. So break it up. You can do the root of the top and the root of the bottom. So this would be 2. The 4th root of 16 is 2. X to the 4th root would just be x over y to the 8th would be y squared, because you could break it up twice. All right, and that is it for this lesson. I know it was short, and if these exponents are kind of giving you grief, that's okay. We're going to keep practicing, and we kind of build on it more, so you're going to get to see a lot more to be able to get used to them. And that is all. Thanks for watching.